Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. Today I have with me Dr. David Morris from the Family Medicine Department of Cinco Ranch Clinic. He is certified by the American Board of Family Medicine. He is a member of the American Academy of Family Physicians and the American Medical Association. He joined Kelsey-Seybold in March 2010. He enjoys studying French and traveling to France as often as possible. To view his complete bio, just go to Kelsey-Seybold.com. Dr. Morris, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this webinar. I hope it provides something of substance for you after we're all done with this. The title is really kind of a challenge. Well, I think we all understand what jiggling does or means. The jingle part will be a little bit more of a challenge, but hopefully it'll be clear as we proceed. Would like to start off with just some information about some weighty facts concerning eating and the consequences of overeating. Holiday weight gain tends to stay. Just ask Santa, and you can observe that he is not getting any skinnier. In fact, he may be getting bigger down through the years. Unfortunately, Santa is at risk for high blood pressure, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, and also needing a new wardrobe. So he also tends to make more visits to places like yours truly because of the medical implications of being overweight and not eating wisely. So health vigilance does not take a holiday. We'll give you some more facts here about the jiggle part. On average, Americans gain 1 to 2 pounds during the holidays, if you can imagine. Some gain even more, up to 5 to 7 pounds. And people who are already overweight are more likely to gain more than the 5 pounds. So there's some real challenges for some of us. Now, all I can say about this picture here is that fat knees are not very pretty. And another thing, if you notice this lady, and maybe the reason she's having trouble losing weight is the scale's broken. I think it reads 112 pounds, something like that. So make sure your scales are working. But here's proof. This is Santa before the holidays. And now Santa after the holidays. So you can see the risk that he runs. I'd like to just share this graph with you. It's referred to as a body mass index graph. It's not complete, but I wanted to illustrate that there is no column here for being big boned. This pretty much puts the numbers out in front of you, and it's a useful parameter to follow if you're committed to maintaining weight or even losing. And it has to do with the computation of height and weight. So it's a handy, kind of a handy dandy thing to monitor as you see you're making progress. Just watching your weight isn't quite as sexy as having a graph to put a number on here. This is available online. You can see many resources that would provide this for you. But another little helpful tool. I think it's wise, in referring back to the scale issue, to do frequent weights. The only way to find out if you're making progress or you're going in the opposite direction is simply to weigh. So we've got all the grim facts about the jiggle part. Let's talk more about jingle and see if we can kind of redirect your eating and activity during the holidays. The jingle part, in my mind, is where you can enjoy life, when you can better celebrate the holidays, and how you can accomplish your health goals all at the same time. So let's see if we can flesh this out. Let's talk about food a little bit. And as I was looking at this slide, I realized that this may not be the healthiest diet here. And it looks like there may be 2 potato portions here. So just say no to 2 potato portions and ignore this picture. But let's talk about an eating schedule first. It's wise to eat at least three meals a day on a regular basis. And it's also wise to load calories more toward breakfast and lunch with a small evening meal. The theory there is that you're able to better metabolize food that goes in the early part of the day, and the evening meal just kind of sits around and accumulates. It's wise not to skip meals as well. Now, we're not talking about large meals, but if you eat regularly, you'll tend to have less of a hunger drive. And I think it's also wise to try to disconnect eating from other activities. The most dangerous connection would be that of TV watching. And it's wise just to concentrate on the meal and the people you're eating the meal with and turn off the TV. Now some more comments about eating. In my opinion, if someone is successful in maintaining or losing weight, probably 80 to 90% of that success story is eating better, eating well. Exercise, surprisingly to some people, I think plays a very small role in weight loss and weight maintenance. And we'll talk more about exercise later in this little talk. But the rules are quite simple. Fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, even crunchy type vegetables are very good for you. Eating more white meat than red, and less bread and bread products, and I'd also include rice and that type of high starchy type foods. So I think anybody could have listed these elements without any great brain exercise. Most people understand what goes in is going to determine how much is deposited. And I would throw out the concept of the toe diet. I share this with my patients fairly frequently, and the toe diet is simply no Fritos, no Cheetos, no Doritos. Now, obviously, it's a reference to snack foods in general. I don't know of many snack foods in boxes and bags that are very good for you. Let's talk about some other good eating habits. I think increasing water intake, even enough to keep the urine on the clear side, is a wise thing to do. Water does have an appetite suppressing effect if consumed in an adequate amount. Eat slowly. Enjoy what you're eating, and eating slowly does tend to decrease the eating drive or the hunger drive slightly. Avoid cooking with salt and shaking it on food. This is particularly helpful for those who are dealing with blood pressure issues and possibly swelling, but it's good for probably everyone in the family to avoid cooking with salt and shaking it on at the table. Learn to read nutrition labels. Very helpful, particularly sodium content and calorie content. Take control of the urge to derive comfort from eating. A practical example occurred in my life recently when one of my grandsons, he'll remain nameless, but he's in the 7th grade and was waiting to hear from his coach whether he'd make the basketball team. So we were having a meal there, and as the word came out that he had indeed been chosen for the basketball team, his eating and chewing became faster and faster, just to illustrate the fact that sometimes anxious situations tend to make us eat more quickly and more. Even experiment with meatless meals. I wouldn't say go vegetarian necessarily, even though that is an option for some folks. But cutting down on meat is not a bad idea, and emphasizing the other food groups, the fruits and vegetables. Now we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about exercise and how it fits into this scheme of things and adding more jingle to your life, hopefully. As I said before, exercise plays, I think, a small but important role in getting less jiggle. My advice would be to keep it simple, keep it regular, but keep it lifelong. You may need to be creative in accommodating physical limitations for those with arthritis, possibly certain medical conditions that limit your physical activity. But don't let those stand in your way. There's always something to do, some method, some technique to get around those disabilities or physical limitations. Certainly, it's wise to start slowly as you initiate an exercise program, but don't remain slow. Have a goal to increase the level of activity. And it's also a great excuse to buy some workout shoes. The who of exercise. This slide was designed to illustrate that it's good for everyone. Particularly at this time of year, we see a lot of kids just sitting around doing video games, watching TV during their free time during holidays. I'd discourage that. Get them out and keep them active. So I wanted to illustrate that by that guy in the lower right hand or lower left hand corner. The guy in the blue shirt is having a wonderful time exercising, just to illustrate how much fun it really is. But there's no age limit. And you can see in the lower right, Grandma saying, basically, don't mess with me. She's going to keep exercising as well. Pretty determined look on her face, I think. Now, the couple in the upper left is doing something kind of strange. My wife and I decided not to try this form of exercise, but it does look a little kinky, and it possibly might have some value here. But I wanted to illustrate that sometimes a team effort is helpful. So get your old lady or your old man, your kids out, and maybe exercise together and enjoy some time just burning up some calories. Now, the what and where of exercise, just a few comments to maybe make some suggestions you haven't thought about. My preference in counseling patients is to walk. It's hard to improve upon. You don't need any special equipment, don't need a special buddy. Just get some comfortable shoes and get out and do it. Personally, I tend to walk with heavy hands, 5-pound weights that look a little strange, but adds a little more effort to the exercise. But walking's very good. Running may fit you if your knees and all in the running gear, so to speak, works. Running may be a good idea if you're so inclined. Swimming's awful good. There's the benefit of using so many different muscle groups at the same time. One of the downsides is finding a pool, and the other side, that downside possibly could be the lack of weight-bearing exercise. Walking, running, that type of stuff actually does improve bone health and maintain bone health. So swimming has some good sides and some bad sides if that's all you do. Biking's great if you want to go places. Gyms are great if you want to see and be seen. And some people actually benefit from the accountability of paying for a gym. But don't get too bent out of shape about going to the gym. There's nothing special about being inside doing the exercise. In fact, I would prefer personally to be outside walking and seeing some trees pass by and hearing the birds sing. But in general, we want to do exercise that keeps you moving. Well, folks, we're coming to the end of this webinar. I hope it's been of some help to you, maybe an encouragement for you to just be a little bit more careful in what goes in, and maybe being a little more careful in how you burn things up. So we at Kelsey hope that you enjoy this special time of year. We hope you celebrate wisely, and we hope you celebrate with no regrets. Enter 2014 with an extra measure of pride in yourself. And at this point, we're going to open this up to questions. Well, the first question reads, I'm a pre-diabetic. What advice do you have for me to help not to break into the full-blown diabetes this Christmas season? Good question. I think we've talked about certain principles of eating which really apply to diabetics, pre-diabetics, and even what you would maybe call the pre-diabetics. So the eating wisely has got to be the foundational answer to this. Exercising, particularly with diabetes or pre-diabetes, is a vital and a very important component of the treatment. But just say no to the ding-dongs, watch the cookies, and stay active. Okay. Another question. Do I have to exercise? I don't like sweating. Gosh, I wish I could use this lady's name, but I wouldn't embarrass her, but there's nothing wrong with sweating. That's why God made showers and soap. So, of course, sometimes it's socially a challenge, but don't worry about sweating. Another question here, is it true that artificially sweetened foods are bad for you? I don't believe that's the case. All the sweeteners that we have been studied very carefully. And as far as I understand in my reading, there is no danger in using artificially sweetened foods.
Dr. Morris, what advice do you have according to how much alcohol you can have during the holidays? What do you recommend?
That's a difficult question. There's certainly nothing wrong with alcohol in moderation. In fact, there's some evidence that might even be healthy from a cardiovascular viewpoint. I think, how does one answer that? Moderate for some people may be overdoing for others, so it's a difficult question to answer. But I wouldn't be afraid of alcohol as long as it's something it's kept under control and kept at the enjoyment stage and certainly not the dependent stage. And I hope that helps answer that question, but a difficult one to answer. We've got another question here about, can diabetes be reversed if you change your way of eating? I'd like to answer that by saying I've seen several people, many people in fact, revert to normal blood sugar readings with no medications simply by losing weight and exercising regularly. Now, whether they reverse diabetes or not, it's only time tells, but I have, again, seen people even drop medications when they turn their life around and decided to get a little bit skinny and get out and even sweat a little bit. Now we have another question here about my advice on holiday parties. There is always so much food and temptation. Well, I guess my advice here is that you need to practice saying no. Maybe look in the mirror in the morning and say no a couple of times, and that way it'll be easier to say when you find yourself in a party where all the tempting delights are in front of you. Just again, practice saying no. But as you commit to this kind of program, if say you've lost a pound or two, it's going to be maybe that will encourage you to say no as you've seen progress being made. We have another question here. Is it bad to eat and go to sleep directly afterwards? Well, if I need to be careful how I answer this because this could eliminate afternoon naps. But in general, you don't want to eat a large meal and go to bed. And I think many people suffered some consequences of that. A couple of issues. One is the meal that you just ate is not utilized, and it's simply deposited in the fat tissue. So that's one issue. I know a lot of folks that have problems with heartburn type issues, and eating heavily and going to sleep is not a good idea for those people as well. But primarily from a metabolic viewpoint, it's not a very useful meal. Got another question here. It says, Dr. Morris, what causes holiday blues, the psychological condition that occurs this time of year? I'm not sure if I have all the answers to that. There are theories about sunlight deprivation. There are issues possibly with reminders that pop up in your memory of good times that aren't being had anymore, people that have gone on. And it would really boil down to a specific situation and an individual situation with some counseling, some investigating questions. Probably the deprivation of sunlight is going to be the best answer to that specific question, I think. And another question has come in. Do you have any suggestions for family or group activities during the holidays that old and young can get involved in? We have a large family of all ages, and we're looking for a group activity that we can do after Christmas dinner that would be good exercise. Well, assuming your group or family has some comfortable walking shoes and there's not a blizzard outside, I would bundle up and get outside and visit some neighbors, do some walking. Your family may enjoy some activities like golfing and that kind of stuff, but mainly just getting out together and doing something. And if you can remember our little graphic earlier about moving, whatever activity allows you to move together as a group. Hiking sounds like a wonderful idea, and maybe in exploring a new part of Katy that you haven't seen before on foot. Bicycling as a family would be a wonderful idea. Just make sure you wear a helmet.
Well, this concludes our webinar for December. We want to invite you to join us in January when Dr. Holbert presents Worst Diet Tips Ever for your New Year's resolution. Be sure to log on to our website and register for our future webinars for 2014. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, look for us on Facebook, and watch our videos on YouTube. We'll see you next month. Bye.